Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about what's going on in Israel right now. Uh, we're all experts because of Google and the ability to access information at our fingertips, which is a blessing. And so this is just my perspective, okay? And I know that many of you know equally as much, if not more, than what I know. You've seen it. Uh, uh, you have your own thoughts. You have your understanding. You've studied things in the past, and so yeah. But it's good to hear other perspectives and other things. Okay. Before I get into that, I just want to I almost hate addressing it, but I feel like I need to just because. But the Tim Ballard situation with Glenn Beck and the Blaze coming forth with their investigation. The investigation really was talking to the those that have allegations that have alleged things that have happened to them because of Tim, and a little bit of talking to the some past employees or even current of our Underground Railroad. So the bottom line is it's all still allegations, and why some commentators, YouTubers, and social media influencers that are Latter-day Saints want to continue to just pound this as I don't know. Allegations are allegations. Now, the interesting thing is now they're saying, well, these supposed victims, I don't even want to call them victims because who knows? But that they voiced this to our months ago. Well, that should really be the question. Well, what did our do about it? Now, I had a company years ago, and I had over 100 employees. And if there were ever allegations of any, they had to be investigated and things had to be done. And sometimes it went to, depending on what it was. And thank goodness I never had anything of a sexual nature or an abuse nature, but sometimes wrongful termination, and then that they would go, and it would go before a board or a judge, and if they were terminated wrongfully or if it was justified, that kind of thing for unemployment and all those kind of things. One particular case went all the way where we had a federal judge that came and fortunately ruled in my favor. Cost me about 25, maybe more than that, maybe closer to $35,000 to have an attorney. But where the past employee was suing for like around 100 and something thousand, I thought, I feel good about anyway. Those things happen. So if these women or others had an objection as to what happened to them, and there were legal ramifications, then ours should have done something. If it's strictly a moral thing, and that Tim is immoral but not illegal, then those things could be brought up with an ecclesiastical leader or whatever. I still think the timing is so bizarre of all this stuff coming out. I would think if I was a victim and all of a sudden this guy that victimized me was going to become famous because of a really cool movie, that would have been a good time to contact, Glenn Beck and the local Utah, popular podcasters and whatnot. Contact them, tell them your story, but to wait to tell them until this. Now, the the accusers are saying that it's the fear that they had, the fear of retaliation. Yeah, I get it. There's always that, but what's more important? What's more important? If you're really a victim, is it more important to live in fear or to come forward and say, this dirtbag did this to me and I'm coming forward to say it, and I'll deal with whatever. So again, some people have in a sense attacked me, but I don't look at it that way. They have a different opinion and they say, oh, you're an idiot. You don't even know what's going on. Well, there's all still allegations, and that's why I'm not pursuing anything as far as either defending Tim or accusing him. I just don't see I don't see it as a mission for individuals to do this, because a lot of things have to happen before we can make that kind of a judgment. So that's still my take. It's been my take from the get-go. And here's another interesting thing with Glenn Beck. Now, Glenn's the ultimate professional. He's been in the business. He's one of the most successful people of his type, of what he does. But if you remember in 2016, and this is easy to find, when the campaign began and it boiled down to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, Glenn Beck said it would be morally wrong to go with anybody other than Hillary Clinton. It'd be morally wrong to support Donald Trump. Now, he later recanted that a long time later when he saw the effects of what he had said. Now, whether he actually changed his mind or because of that he saw that Hillary was evil, or whether he changed his mind because he lost a lot of viewers, I don't know. I have no idea. And my point isn't to attack Glenn. I'm just saying all of us have these knee-jerk reactions, or we have these things. And he obviously did not like Trump and thought Hillary. Well, even in 2016, knowing what he knew, if he really felt that Hillary would have been a better president and it would be immoral, which is so interesting, that word being used, immoral to support Trump. Wow. So it's not that I distrust Glenn. It's not that I don't think they didn't do an investigation, but the alleged victims are still anonymous. We don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. Glenn doesn't know who they are. And they've talked, or maybe not to Glenn. I think he made sure he didn't get involved. But here's another thing. Glenn has skin in the game. He's invested, he's promoted, he's done all that. So I can see where he would be coming from. And also one of the, I don't want to name names here in Utah anymore because I got phone calls and I don't want to do that anymore. But they did a promotion with them, or they did an event with them, with Tim, and they did it together. And so they just feel betrayed. And so they have, more skin in the game. But I think most of us just want to go, well, we'll see what happens. And if they did, then shame on all of them. If they're adults, shame on all of them. Okay, let's get to Israel. Now, there's been a few people that have reached out, said, man, I have a trip planned. I'm planning on going to Israel. Here's my advice. It's just me speaking. If the tour guide or travel agent or individuals that you're involved with in going say it's a go, I would go forward with faith. I would totally go and participate. One person said they're going to be going on a cruise this fall and they only have one day in Jerusalem. What can you hire a local guide or what? Here's what I would do. but this is just me. There's so many cool online one-day travel in Jerusalem or self-guided type things. You can virtually walk anywhere. And if you only have one day, but I would do Holy Sepulchre. I would do the Garden Tomb. Those are within minutes of each other. Holy Sepulchre, Garden Tomb, and then there's a bit of a walk to the Garden of Gethsemane. Those would be my top three. If I could somehow do the Temple Mount, say in the morning, and do the Temple Mount, and then get those other things done in the afternoon, I would try to get the Temple Mount in. But if you only have one day, that's what I would do, and it's easy to do that on your own. Of course, depending on where you stay. Now the cab drivers. One time, my son and I were in Jerusalem, and we met a cab driver. I would say it was by the Dung Gate. There's a lot of cabs there, but the cab drivers are. This is just my experience. I've only had maybe three, but they're almost like tour guides, and they'll take you. They'll wait for you. We had one that we had luggage. He held our luggage. He dropped us off. We did Hezekiah's tunnel. We came out where he knew where to meet us. He was there. You just have to trust. Sometimes we're just so paranoid. I don't know. I just said, yeah, okay, you hold our luggage. And he was there. He met us. And then he took us to a place to rent a car because we were going to head up north from there. Another cab driver, he said, I'll spend the whole day with you, and this is what it costs. And it was not that much. I can't remember, but total reasonable. My son and I said, okay, we have a day that I want my son to see the Dead Sea, to see Qumran and Masada, and maybe the Jordan River crossing. And he goes, easy, can do it. I know all the people. Okay, so we head down from Jerusalem. He goes, do you want a camel ride? Sure. Goes in, has a tea or whatever they drink with the guy. We get on the camel, take pictures. It was right at sea level as you come down. So then we continued on down. We went to the Jordan River crossing, a supposed site where Christ was baptized. I think that's the area myself, because it would also be where Joshua brought the children of Israel over, because Jericho's right there. He goes, I can't take you to Jericho, can't take you there. Later went there on another trip, and then we went to Qumran. We went to Masada. He just waited for us to go up the hill. It's all good. It was awesome. Took us back to to the Dung Gate, which we just had a short little walk to an Airbnb we were staying in the Jewish quarter, and it all worked out. So I would trust those guys as well, and let them, if you can't walk or it's difficult, just have them just say, look, how much will you charge for a day, and will you take us to these sites? They'll do it, okay? There's so many other cool places, but those would be my top ones to try to get done. Okay, now, I want to focus on a couple of things with this conflict. It's big, it's major. It was a surprise, to be on the day of Sukkot, which the Feast of Tabernacles. This is key, in my opinion, because the Feast of Tabernacles and along with being Shabbat, so everybody is in a very relaxed mode, whether you're religious or just wanting to participate in Jewish traditions. If you're in Israel, the Feast of Tabernacles, the kids camp out and they look under the stars, and it reminds them of the children of Israel traveling in the wilderness for 40 years. and that the tabernacle was the movable, portable enclosure for the Ark of the Covenant and the presence of the Lord. So this is all part of this. It's a joyous celebration, and not a stressful or somber. It's just the opposite of that. And it's at the end of Yom Kippur. So this was not by chance, in my opinion, that this is when Hamas decided to do this. And the planning was, it's amazing that they pulled this off without the Israeli intelligence. Somebody's head's gonna roll, and I shouldn't even say it that way, because in the Middle East that could literally happen. But somebody's gonna be in a lot of trouble with the IDF, in my opinion, for allowing this to happen. But anyway, death toll over 200 easily, probably over 1,000 injuries, but it's the captives that were taken from Israeli communities outside of Gaza and then brought back into Gaza. That complicates things. Now, I loved the title of the IDF's reaction to this, and it's Swords of Iron. Swords of Iron. Now, the Hamas attack was something about the Al-Aqsa flood, meaning the Al-Aqsa Mosque sitting on the Temple Mount. Now, see, isn't this interesting that it's all about the Temple Mount is why they attacked, and then they want the flood to occur, inviting all the other Palestinians and Hezbollah, anybody that hates Israel, come on and join us. Even have the Taliban saying, hey, in Afghanistan, hey, will you guys give us passage through? And Syria would probably let them in, or Lebanon, but Jordan probably not, but maybe, who knows? But so you have all these entities that hate Israel. They're being invited to join in on this. Now this really creates some interesting things biblically. Okay, so personally, I don't think this is the big one, if you will, because I think that has to do with the abomination of desolation. One person has asked me to do a video on that, and I'm going to do it on the next video, because I think it has a lot to do with what to look forward to in the future when there will be total devastation in Jerusalem, but it will be because of an abomination of desolation, or an abomination that makes desolate. I like how that's worded. It just makes more sense that there's going to be a desolation because of a particular abomination. I'll save that for later. I don't think that's what's occurring right now. But things are lining up for that. Now, I was listening to Amir, many of you, Tafatsi, is that his last name? Behold Israel, I believe is his YouTube channel. I've followed him for a long time. Don't always agree with him, but I thought he had an interesting observation with this. Now, yesterday when I did my short little video, I talked about how these alignments could happen. So we're supporting Ukraine, and in essence, we're a proxy enemy to Russia. Just like Iran is using Hamas as a proxy to fight the war, we're using Ukraine to fight against Russia. We're supplying all the goods. We're paying for it, billions. You and I, we're paying for it. And so in essence, we've created an enemy in Russia. Now, Amir stated that there's only two countries that have the intelligence to jam the Iron Dome, which appeared to not work very well with these 5,000 missiles that were shot in from Gaza into different parts of Israel. The Iron Dome didn't work as well as it normally would have. Now, some explain, well, it's just because of the amount of missiles that came and at the same time. But Amir's thought was there are only two countries. One's the United States and one's Russia. And he goes, I doubt very seriously the United States jammed it, but maybe Russia did. And then all of a sudden, things. So we could go bad Russia. But if you look at a global alliance of different countries, in the Middle East, our really, really closest ally is Israel, okay? So Israel is hated by many, Iran is Persian. They're not Arab, but they're Persian, but they hate Israel. And then most of the aligning Arab nations hate Israel. We have a little bit of agreement with Egypt, a little bit with Saudi Arabia, a little bit of this and that. But overall, a lot of Arab and the Muslims hate Israel and Judaism, anything to do with that. So if you have if you have Russia, who has an alignment with Iran and China, and feels like the U.S. is in total conflict with them and fighting against them, and these other countries, Iran in particular, says we need allies to attack or to help us attack Israel. Are you in? And you could see the thinking of Russia going, yeah, we're in, because we're being attacked by the United States of America. So we'll attack their ally in the Middle East. So it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. It's a possibility how these things could work. So we have this, and China, where would they fall on it? Well, I would say that they have a pretty good alignment with Russia. So you can kind of see how all these things are going. I have felt right off the get-go that our involvement in Ukraine has just been absolutely ridiculous. And I know that goes against many people in the church, and all that, but it just makes no sense to me. And the corruption in Ukraine, the absolute corruption and supporting a corrupt regime there, it's not good. It's not good. So anyway, those are some things there. Back to the name of the operation that the IDF is involved in, Swords of Iron. Now, have I not been talking about swords and iron and the iron rod being a sword? I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then I talked about in Ephesians, where it talks about all the things to put on the armor of God, and what each piece of armor representing a soldier, and the only offensive weapon is a sword. And then we talked about the sword of Laban and how important that was and passed down. And it was the copy to be used for battle. So the sword is the word of God. The word of God is going to ultimately conquer all this. Now, I'm not saying that because Israel named it this, that they get it and that they understand. I don't think many of them do, but I think it's properly named, and it by inspiration that came to somebody to say swords, not sword, but swords of iron, of all things, swords of iron. Iron represents strength. Iron represents aggression in a sense, just like a horse would represent war and a donkey would represent peace. Christ came on a donkey as a mortal. He's going to come on a horse with a sword. Okay, so I'm going to talk more about this in an upcoming video where I tie in the desolation that makes, the abomination that makes desolate, and I'm going to tie this in to how I think the events will come about. But I do think that what's going on in Israel right now is a precursor or an alignment. These things don't just boom happen, in my opinion. It's a lead up, and you can see how things are lining up. I do think we look to the heavens. We look to on the earth and beneath the earth. We look for signs. We look for seasons, Jewish feasts. All these things have something to do with what we're witnessing, and these are the signs that we as watchers should be watching for and staying focused on, instead of these distractions that are out there, these things that really, they could be interesting, or they could have, particularly if they're happening to you, it's for real and you have to deal with them. But if it's just this thing, don't let that thing distract you from the overall events. We are all looking forward to the coming of the Son of Man, his second coming, Jesus Christ, where he comes to the Mount of Olives. Before he comes, and we'll talk about this in a future video, before he comes, he will send his angels. And I just got goosebumps. And these angels will be wielding swords of justice. And it is for real. It is for real. But before that brings on that, is the abomination that takes place. And we'll talk about that in the next video. God bless. I love you all. I love your input. I pray God's blessing upon you and upon me, upon our families, as we navigate these trying times. But God always wins. And his Son, Jesus Christ, will come in power and glory, and it will eliminate, he will eliminate, and the events will eliminate evil. Under his direction, the armies will eliminate evil. I know that will take place. But in the meantime, we've got to shore up our spiritual armor, our spiritual sword, and we have to go to battle in a spiritual sense. And the people in Jerusalem and in Israel in particular right now, it's both ways. It's both spiritual and physical. We had an earthquake in Afghanistan, I believe it was, killing thousands, hundreds. Things are going on. We've had so many signs. To ignore them would to me is a slap in the face of our Heavenly Father and his Son Jesus Christ, to ignore these things as not being precursors to the coming of the Son of Man. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye.